Hey y'all, welcome to our live stream. It's it's just gonna be Jake and Daniel and Jake, whichever. Yeah, it's we're just
I think you get top billing. It's okay.
I yeah, it's fair. It's fair. All right, so welcome to our stream. We're tonight. Unfortunately, one of our players is out sick. Got a little time flu going on, so we are doing something a little different tonight. Tonight we are planning on basically just relaxing, having a drink, and talking about. Did you not get the memo?
I didn't get the booze. I'll be right back.
Oh,
This is the perfect time to finally open that whiskey.
okay. Well, it's a whiskey night.
You tell the people what we're doing.
Okay, Jake's getting whiskey, and well, I already have my wine, so I'm good to go. I was prepared. But yeah, no, so we're doing... Well, first, we're doing an AMA. So if y'all have any questions, if y'all have any thoughts that you want to chat with us about while we're here and live and available and excited to engage, by all means, please join us. If you don't have any thoughts of your own, that's fine. We're happy to supply thoughts for you. We're going to chat about pets, minions, robots, plus ones, companions, all those different things that can accompany your character into, battle, your adventures, your operatives, your operations. Okay, so that's something that really gets me. We call our characters operatives, but they don't go on operations. That really bothers me. Like, I want it to be... I want there to be a correlation there. Like, they're operatives that go on missions, right? As opposed to, like, missionaries that go on operations. I think that's going to be the new game. They're going to be missionaries that go on operations instead of operatives that go on missions. It's going to be weird. But I'm excited for it. Yeah, so Brennan asked, what lab are you playing? Let's see. I'm creating new dimensions, so technically I'm still playing Depot. I'm basically the same. Yeah, it's fun like that. If the screen flashes, it's because I changed windows, and it just goes black when I do that for a second, and I don't know why, and I hate it, and I want it to go away, but it's what it's doing, so we'll live with it. Okay, is Jake back yet? Let's find out. Nope, not yet. So faith healing. Yeah, basically. So for everyone who's watching the stream, this over here is my Google Doc, where I have it's what we call our Retroscape main index, our development index. So what most people see normally is this Google Doc, which is our playtesting index. Yeah, it's nice and pretty, and well, it's prettier. It could be a lot more pretty, I imagine, but
We're working on it.
Yeah. Well, one day. Oh man, now I have ideas. I bet I could turn this into a cool table with hidden formatting. Yeah, that'd be good. I'm gonna do that eventually. And in the meantime,
Sweet.
this is our Retroscape index. That looks really red?
Well, that's because the bottom of it's red, because this is a Maker Mark glass, but there is not Maker's Mark in it. It's Sons of Aaron.
Sons of Aaron. That one's local, isn't it?
Yes. Oh god, I hope so. I think it's a local one. I know that I was gonna try and ship you some, and then the Backstreet Boys tour happened, and it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But at some point, what do you have? Because I was asked by other people in this household.
Currently I am having wine. It is a Shiraz. I always say that one wrong. Shiraz. It's a Shiraz.
Shiraz.
It's a Shiraz.
Going to Tarjay. Gonna go to Tarjay afterwards.
Oh my god, it is Tarjay Shiraz. That's totally true though. Actually, it might even be Walmart Shiraz. So Let's go downhill. No, yeah, it's aged in Scotch barrels is what they said. But
Ooh.
honestly, I'm not gonna get it again. We don't like it as much, so nothing special.
I mean,
recommend.
Well, I don't like wine anyway, so that works for me. Yes, Sun's is from the Kansas City area, so, haha.
Well, there you go. Which is why I haven't been able to find it.
That's true. Though they are starting to ship out, I believe. Yeah, I have their 15. I don't. This isn't their. I don't think this is the 15-year. It's a really nice bottle. It's all I know. It's really tasty, and it's really good. And it reminds me of Austin. And now I'm really sad that I didn't get to go.
So.
But anyway.
So I don't think we have any like pressing announcements aside from. Normally, every Tuesday, y'all know, is the live game. I think everyone watching it currently knows that it's the live game, but for those of you who watch it not right now, every Tuesday at this time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, we do a live stream, so come check it out. Tonight, we're not doing that, obviously. We're doing our live chat. And hopefully, by the end of it, having a pretty good idea of how we want to handle some pets and minions.
Yeah, and maybe some other ideas, because from what we've learned in the middle of games, the chat's very creative. By the way, chat, because I forgot, I need a good villain name for a soda jerk operator. He's a villain, and it's ice themed. That's all I can tell you. But in case you guys think of a good idea, send it to me. Welcome to the House of Squitch. Squitch is dead. Kristen's not here to defy me anymore.
I don't think Squitch is dead. Long live Squitch.
I should have set up that doll to move the second I said that, just for Kristen.
That would be creepy.
I know, but yeah, it's very Squitch-like. I still want a Squitch one, to be fair.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We need to get Squitch Illustrated at some point. That seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it?
Can we brainstorm Squitch ideas? Because I just had an idea.
Oh, what idea did you have?
I think Squitch doesn't get a real art piece. I think what Squitch gets is just a picture of someone in a suit, and just nanoswarms wrapped around their face and their limbs, so you can't see any details, and just the one glowing red eye just shining through. I think that's Squitch. I think at no point do we ever actually make Squitch a real image. I still believe, and I don't know is it okay that I'm allowed to say what my theory for Squitch is and I still want to use?
Sure. Yeah.
Squitch has been dead forever. Squitch may never have existed. Squitch is just nanoswarm.
Oh. Yeah, that is an interesting theory.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of theories about Squitch floating around. I think some of them are in the book. I think we have published some commentary from Neurogrind operatives in the Neurogrind section about oh yeah, I think Squitch is this, and another Neurogrind operative's like, no, I'm pretty sure he's this. And
those are the best ones.
Yeah.
That's how you have to do it, though. Yeah. I think Squitch will be the one iconic character that we always just say theories, even as the creators and devs. Because here's my theory on Squitch. You wrote him. It's a theory, though.
I mean, I don't know if we created Squitch. Maybe Squitch created us.
All I know is Squitch is named after the sound that Neurogrind operatives allegedly make when they try and leave the lab.
Allegedly. But no one's ever done
allegedly. Right, no, there's nobody to know. It's totally not a document somewhere talking about an entire insurgent of Neurogrinds who are trying to find and kill Squitch.
Oh yeah, we did just release that, didn't we? That's fun. Did we? I don't remember anything right now.
It's not out, though, to be fair, and I'll put my own toes on the fire for this one. There's some stuff coming to the Patreon soon. As soon as one of us is able to proofread Jake's very tired writing. which I may enlist some other people to do that soon anyway. But we'll be putting some stuff in the Patreon soon. Some kind of short... Is it all right we talk about what we're kind of changing a little bit with that?
Yeah, go for it.
So, obviously with Backstreet Boy Tour going on and everything else that's going on and busy schedules, we haven't been able to stick to our schedule that we really want, but we also we realize that the Patreon is how you all support us, and doing the streams is how you support us, and it's amazing, and buying the books when you guys do, which we love and appreciate, and the shirts. Go buy the shirts if you would like the shirts. Neither of us have them on,
Nope.
but we'll post a link at some point. But all that support always helps us out, so I'm going to be trying to focus on the Patreon a bit more to try and put some things on there that are exclusive to them, whether just always to them, or even some, like, things that are delayed, like it gets released a week early or 2 weeks early. But one of the goals, which will be coming out, I'm going to guess mid-August, is that we're going to post 2 small confrontations a month instead of big adventures, because the big adventures, as fun as they are, they take up so much of our time to edit and make sure that they're up to date with the system and up to the quality that we want to give you. So instead, we're going to go down to kind of 2 small confrontation concept ideas, and once in a while, if one of us gets the urge, we'll throw in something extra on top. But one will go out to the Patreons exclusively, and the other will go out to the Patreons a month early, and then after a month, the other one will come free to the public for those who maybe can't support the Patreon, but they can still get a confrontation every month still. Patreons will just get 2 each month, and will get ahead of time. So yeah, that is my goal that I am starting up and have been working on the last 2 days, and Daniel just learned about. Though, granted, we've been working on a lot of different projects that each other haven't quite known about, I think.
No, I mean, that's... Yeah. Getting the adventures written, it's a huge goal, but yeah, it's also a big time sink. It's really interesting.
It's a lot of fun. It's definitely, when the books are done, that will probably become a big focus of us, is actually putting out, like, some nice adventures once a month and even, like, some bigger stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah. I'm also trying to read the chat at the same time.
It's funny, Brendan and I are talking about the Squitch, and I really want to do, like, a whole line of adventures where, like, Squitch dies at the end of every adventure. But then it's just there and normal in the next adventure. Like,
yeah, just back.
Yeah. It's like a killed Kenny sort of moment. Like, just...
No one ever questions it.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I saw Squitch die last week, but here he is again. Normal.
Who cares? He's still around. They're still around. She's still around. It's confusing. Let's just go with Squitch is around.
Yeah.
Squitch is around some fans. Yeah. Oh, what was the other theory we had? Oh, my 7 Dwarves theory.
What?
That was from when Kristen ran their game. This dev talk is gonna be us just chit chatting, I think, which is fine. I hope the UL chat enjoys it and they get to join in. But no, when Kristen ran their awesome game for the I Spy, I made a little, like, 1 paragraph kind of joke somewhere. It's somewhere in the Neurogrind brainstorm that talks about how Squitch just pulled out the personalities that weren't useful, like personality traits like happiness or sadness or anger, and just put them into robots. And so they basically just kept, like, the useful emotions, like determination and productivity, things like that. That way they could keep working. So there's just, like, 7 different robots running around with just extreme emotions of Squitches.
Yep, that sounds right.
Yeah, it was also inspired by Kristen's character with the pufferfish.
Oh yeah, her pufferfish with the self-destruct abilities.
Yeah.
The underwater themed Neurogrind operative.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fun. So I think, speaking of pufferfish, I think we should talk about pets.
I'm cool with that. Because one of my favorite things that I love to do in role-playing games, which I always feel bad about, because I don't mean to do it in case it ever annoys the narrator, is I love animals.
Yeah, and I think that's understandable, and I think that's pretty normal. I think that building the mechanics for it without it being like overwhelming is a lot. So I don't know if you've seen. 2 weeks ago, I built a character, a Neurogrind operative, a level 12 Neurogrind operative, and she had one robot companion and had purchased and upgraded 4 additional robots.
Was that for the level 12 Monster Bash?
Oh yeah, it was the level 12 Monster Bash. Yes.
I have not gotten to read that yet, though. News on that possibly later.
Oh, ooh, wow, that was a spoiler. Or teaser, not a spoiler.
Teaser.
Yeah. Huh, that's interesting. So I hadn't thought about it. So it's something I've been thinking a lot about recently. I'm totally getting tangent dragon right now. Something I've been thinking about a lot recently is the way that when you're writing a storyline, what you're kind of building is you're building this kind of teaser or anxious moment or thought that you want stuck into the reader's head. And then later, you build the payoff, right? Where that thing is resolved in a way that, like, it tickles the brain. It relieves anxiety. It relieves pressure of that earlier thought. That's
you want them to follow along, but not know exactly what it is, but still follow along.
Exactly, yeah. And so when you're talking about, like, teasers and spoilers, I sometimes feel like a teaser builds pressure and a spoiler relieves pressure. And if you do a spoiler without knowing what's being teased, then people are just like, okay, well, great, you've released pressure that I didn't have. And now when I get to the teaser, I'm not going to be able to enjoy that pressure. That's really disappointing. All that is to say, what you just said was definitely a teaser, because I have no pressure relief. I have no idea when the 12th level game is going to be. So anxiety is still there.
Here, you want another teaser? You probably should use plural instead of just game.
Oh.
There's probably going to be more than one game coming.
That makes sense, though. I mean...
Yeah, we have a lot of people who want to play, so...
Yeah.
That's really good whiskey.
Whiskey sounds really good right now. Eric, yeah, Neurogrind self-destruct is super cool at first level, but I really don't love it. It's like they show up, they put all these, like, points into a first level self-destruct build. They self-destruct the enemies, and then, like, I don't know, the fight's either over, or if it's not over, then the Neurogrind is out of abilities. And I think that kind of sucks.
Ooh. But I'll say this, put it in a walker bot, though, is smart.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it is that you gotta play with that.
I think it was Greg in this chat that did that. Yeah,
Yep.
That put it in the walker bot, and I thought that was really cool. Like, just, yeah, put in the interlink in the walker bot, so it was good.
Which makes, honestly, that's one of the things Neurogrind is that lab that always seems to elude us just a little bit. It was them and Tribe for the longest time.
Yeah.
And maybe Network, but Network I'm starting to get more ideas for finally. Social mechanics are so hard.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Tad in the stream definitely helped out with some ideas for social mechanics.
Ooh.
All
I had to do was insult everyone.
All you had to do was insult everyone and then offer half of a grenade to someone bullying you. Would you like this half or my half? That's a great line, by the way. It's like, I can give you half. But kind of going back to the pets thing, yeah, it's such a weird thing because you don't want to, like, there's such a scope of pets, which I'm going to kind of brag about you for a moment because you nailed the nail on the head, I think. Why did that sound so weird? Of making kind of two styles of pets, of making small pets, which are more like familiars for people. Like, they're not combat oriented things. They're meant to be helpers, or if they are combat oriented, it's more like an extension of you, less so than you having another person to fight with. Whereas the larger ones and like the robot companions are more like having another character involved. So I think it turns into that weird balance where we have to kind of decide, okay, are animal companions and robot companions and minions going to be more like temporary things that get reset? Or are they more like you're splitting yourself in two and basically dividing your power amongst being able to do two things?
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of how we can play it, which I think if we do the resetting thing, one, we can still make them useful and not like cannon fodder. Well, they can be cannon fodder, but not like useless cannon fodder. Like they can actually do things. Yeah.
Well, okay, so background for the humans watching us. The proposal that I put forward into our development group was that we effectively split pets into what I think of as like small pets and combat ready pets. So the small pet. So one of the things when people talk about pets, I always really want, like, in our live game, just Seth has a Fractopip. Just a little fractured creature that's cute and adorable and doesn't do a whole lot. But trying to give that little adorable creature stats and make that into a combatant, I think is really dangerous and difficult and complex and a lot of bookkeeping for the player. And I don't want that, and when I think about like some of these cute little animals I have, I don't know, personally I think about like, the squirrel that just sits on your shoulder, or the snake that you secretly keep in your sleeve, and when you get close to someone, the snake reaches out and bites them, or like little things like that you don't want to have. Okay, what is your squirrel's brawn? What is your squirrel's dexterity? How many hit points does he have? What's his wound threshold? What skills does he have? So on and so on and so on and so. I'm just like, no, I don't want to do all of that. I don't want to have another character sheet for the little chipmunk on my shoulder. That's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah, that will die if the troll covered in Grum touches it.
Well, and especially, so at first level, I think you can kind of balance that, where like, okay, well, the squirrel, it does have like 5 hit points or whatever. Yeah, if it gets hit, it's probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But then you get to like 12th level, and you haven't wanted to invest points into your squirrel, and your squirrel still has 5 hit points. And the second that, like, the giant flamethrower tank that you're fighting gets any sort of damage on you, the squirrel that's on your shoulder is also now toast. It's incinerated. That's pretty unfun to me. And it just doesn't... It's not thematic. It's not exciting. So here... So the crux of my proposal is that we have small animals. And these small animals are... They don't have hit points. They don't really have a speed or a brawn or anything like that. Instead, you can choose the small animal's specialty, whatever we call it. Small pet companion, little pet, furry pet, I don't know. It won't be furry because they have a lot of snakes. You take the specialty, and then you choose a couple tricks with it. For example, your pet can... perform its action anywhere within 10 yards of you. Your pet can make a small bite attack using your action, but like it does it within that range. Maybe it has poison. That could be one of its tricks. Your pet can pick someone's pocket and pull out one item. Your pet can go over and nibble on their ear and distract them. These little things where your pet is effectively an ability that you have, right? But your pet is doing it, and that's how you get a pet. You can then take that specialty again. Maybe you have 2 pets, maybe you have 3 pets. You know, eventually you have a swarm of squirrels that you're attacking people with.
And then your Squirrel Girl.
Yeah, that seems fun. Or Ant-Man. You know, whatever gender you want to be.
Yeah, that's fair. Squirrel Girls is always the one that I think is funny just because they always win no matter what off screen.
The other thing I was thinking about was that so then we get into the combat ready animals. You know, your wolf, your mounted horse, mountable horse. Your horse isn't mounted. Whatever.
Rideable?
Rideable is the word I was looking for. Your, I don't know, combat hippo, your attack elephant. Side note, I really want to play an Ascent now with an DNA spliced upgraded hippo that he just like rides into battle.
War hippo.
Yeah.
Man, I want to play the facet holographic animals and the plant for evergreen animals that they're all talking about in chat.
Oh, are we doing animals for every lab now? Because yes.
I mean, we've ghoul hounds, because those are in the, or they're coming. I don't know if they're released. If you go to the monster thing and you see ghoul hounds, they're in there. Hopefully.
Maybe.
Battle Badger. Sorry, I love the chat's ideas.
Yeah, well, and so just yesterday I was writing up a whole brainstorm of like different hard light elements for facet.
Ooh.
So, you know, being able to do a hard light animal manifestation or pet manifestation seems super cool to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, kind of going with that, you could, like, each of the attributes, I think, could have some major things, like, who said it? Someone said something cool about them stealing something, pickpocketing things, but you could even do that where, like, they scout out an area, like, look around a corner for you. So you could almost not quite have the level of facets bending sight, but you could have your pet go around a corner, check the area, and come back and scout up to like 10 yards away or something like that.
Okay, don't mind me. I'm just going to make some notes, because...
a gremlin cannot be considered a pet. They could be considered a companion, maybe. But a gremlin is technically a sentient creature that are getting a big change that is Daniel's brain baby and still gives me nightmares.
Oh, is it them being cybernetic?
It's how they become cybernetic.
Oh, I'm not ringing a bell. Tell me about that. What's the nightmare that I gave you?
So they are basically made of like cybernetic mesh to their own degree, where organic mesh, where they can just put in technology into their body, just like stab it in, push it in, whatever, and then it can work. And that's how they become like big cyborg gremlins, where like you just have a gremlin running around that has a blender in its shoulder because it makes a whirring noise and it likes the blade. Oh yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I think kind of actually going off what they said about a crow scratching the eyes, distracting. I think a lot of the kind of familiar is the word I'm going to use for now, just because that's like a good small thing. But like the small pet, familiar, robot, whatever it is, I think a really good thing with them is kind of acting them. They kind of act somewhat like called shot, where a called shot generally is a kind of broad stroke for what we're doing with called shots, where I'm choosing to hit the character in the leg to trip them. I'm choosing to aim for their eyes to blind them. They all have the same effect of the disadvantage, but they down the road can get specific called shots, specific abilities, things like that to kind of play with. At least that's how I've kind of viewed it.
Yeah, I'm really liking this. So, like, I've just written down some quick things. Like, you know, one of the tricks could be they could fly. They can... one of the things I really want to do is I want to be able to give them a poison, and then it, like, do certain things where if you attack someone in melee... So, okay, sorry. This is an image I always like, and I really want to be able to capture this in an actual character at some point. I want a character that does have, like, a snake or something like that, like, in their sleeve or wrapped around their shoulder, and then they're also a little unarmed fighter-esque.
Okay.
And when they attack, sometimes their snake also attacks at the same time. And so you get these kind of, poison punch combo. It seems like a fun character to play to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could just be an anatomics that's developing your own poisons. And...
Oh god, can we talk about anatomics real quick? Because I'm really excited.
Yes, I agree with you.
Okay, I know we keep tangenting, but I'm really excited for what we're kind of going towards with anatomics, and I'm giving you the credit on this one because you sparked the idea, and now it's going insane. It's not a now thing; it's a future endeavor, and we're still going to play with it. But to give you guys an idea, anatomics is kind of not changing is the wrong word. They're upgrading how they work. Is that a better way to describe it?
Yeah, we're tweaking their storyline. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of just worms, them turning into, because they have the organs, they have the worms, they have the body alteration, fun stuff. But a big focus of them have been worms, which is really fun. But it also kind of locks them in a weird way that none of the other labs are locked quite as hard. It feels like. So we're kind of leading more to going to what'd you call it? Was it bacteria? Was that the right word for it?
Yeah, like bacteria or mold or a pathogen or viral load. Yeah.
Yeah, so finding ways to kind of expand on their stuff so they can like make bacterias, make viruses, make diseases, more body modification stuff for them to kind of mess around with. So almost like, I think, right now we're not entirely sure, but I think they're going to keep the same kind of style of play where they have so many things they can have active at once. But it'll be broken down more into things they do at a time. So they might have a bacteria set up on an ally that like boosts their adrenaline. They might have a parasitic worm set up on an enemy that slowly drains them of hit points, and they might have stitched in an extra arm onto the Ascent character to give them an extra attack. And they're kind of maintaining all of those at the same time while healing and things like that. So to kind of give them the same feel, but more flavor with it at the same time.
Yeah, I really want to push them. I don't know. The thing that kind of struck me was that there was often this like kind of logical jump between, I don't know, a lot of the labs make sense to some degree with their indoctrination, and like Depot goes out and recruits extraordinarily like math-oriented individuals. And timekeepers find people who have a future, and Tribe recruits anyone that can fit in their suit, and is a vigilante and likes Batman. I don't know, but like anatomics, whenever I was making an anatomics character, I would feel like they start as a doctor. Weird things happen, and now they have worms, and I had a hard time like kind of transitioning through that sequence of events. Whereas now, what we're kind of moving towards is the basic anatomics character might, they start as a doctor or a researcher or someone interested in this sort of stuff. They began experimenting with bacteria, stem cells, antibiotics, pathogens in a really advanced way. And now they're creating life and creating these like bacterial generating organs and all these other kind of abilities that are advanced super science, medicines, antibiotics, etc. That's kind of the flow that I'm going for with them.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm excited about. Oh god, soul form familiars will be fun. Sorry, that was real out of there.
Well, and the soul form, basically creating. Oh, jeez. Okay, now.
Yeah, but now you can make permanent ones.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
They're like, yeah. Also, because we're on anatomics and this, I am really excited to figure out how to make it so. And anatomics, when they're like, anatomics is cornered, and they're like, we got you, and like a high level anatomics agent just drops a little worm on the ground, and it just grows into this large kind of thing and just merges into the homunculi and just goes to town on them.
Oh wow, I really like the idea of. So the thing I keep thinking about is like, okay, so you end up taking our animal companion specialty, right? And once you take the animal companion specialty, now there's a whole line of specialties in each lab that open up to you. Whereas in Ascent, you have, well, now you can use DNA upgrades on your pet.
Right.
Or I like
Which is still cool.
Yeah, well, and I like the idea of like anatomics. Now you can at any point keep your pet inside of you and regrow your pet as a worm, like, or like from a worm, like, you know.
Fido's got worms. Yeah, I know. How do you think I'd take him on the plane with me?
Or facet, you know, you can turn your animal into a hard light animal. Seems strange, but I like it. The one I really want to explore is network, where I really want network to be able to effectively do really advanced or cognizant actions with their animal. Like, so effectively the network operative could inhabit their animal's body. So if we're talking about like, right, if we're talking about like scouting, we're talking about like talking, communicating, the network operative connects themselves to their animal companion the same way that Neurogrind connects themselves to robots.
Okay. Also, I want a network ability now where you can like project yourself into your allies for things like that. Like if you need to like give them mental boost, kind of like you're talking about with the Neurogrind, being able to like send your mental prowess, whereas Anatomics does the physical prowess, sending mental prowess into your ally.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd also be useful. I'm sorry, tangent moment. That'd be useful for like when an Ascent is going full Chimera. Maybe they can actually like go into them to try and help calm them down easier. Network area effect. We're trying to get, we're getting more combat network stuff figured out because we realize that we shouldn't have network be like, they're social, here you go. We're instead going to make it so that there are social stuff in everyone, they're just the best at doing it. And they will have some more of that mental, I don't want to say psionic because it's not quite that, but we might play with it a bit. I know we're back and forth on it. I also may have forgotten we may have something in there now at this point. It's been a while since I worked on network.
Well, and that, yeah, so I know that we've added a few AoE abilities, but it's not as much as what I think we should have.
Right, but we're also like that with every lab, every time. But we also we have to remind ourselves regularly, get it out so that people can play test it so we can improve the things we want to improve.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, which is, for some reason, you think it'd be easier during quarantine. It's not. It's much harder for some reason, because we're stuck at computers all day.
We could also make our pets, like a trick could be making them cybernetic or alien. And that's how you get your fractured.
I mean, that'd be... Yeah, that's how you get your fractured beast. That'd be pretty fun. Core Plus turning their Core Plus just turning like an iguana into a railgun for some reason. That's all I'm picturing now.
That is a weird image, but you know.
To be fair, it's because of a Dungeons and Dragons game I'm in, where Max's character has an iguana familiar, and I keep wanting them to cast Burning Hands through it, and so now I'm gonna make it so we have a cannon iguana. Cannon.
The only one I can't think of. Oh wow. Okay, so like, do timekeepers get a weird pet ability? Like, I can't think of anything for timekeepers or tribe in particular.
Dinosaurs. No. What tribe gets? Here's what tribe gets. Did you ever watch the old Super Dog cartoons? Crypto the Super Dog?
No.
Okay, for anyone that may have, and if not, then Jake's just going on a quick tangent. There was a cartoon called Crypto the Super Dog. It was all about Crypto, Superman's dog, and it was just a silly cartoon. But there was also Bat Dog, and there was like Wonder Cat, I think, or Wonder Dog. I don't remember. Basically, all the dogs and cats were the superheroes' pets, but Bat Dog was Bat Dog. It was just Batman as a dog, basically. That's all I'm picturing for Tribe. It's just a dog, like a dog in full suit of armor, just going woof, and then suddenly mask. That's all I need. I have no good system mechanic. That's just what I need in life now.
No, now I'm definitely imagining, some sort of weird ability where your pet can put on a mask and not be noticed as your pet. It's that.
Streaks the cat. Yep, that's who it was. That was the cat that was like the Flash, but not the Flash's cat. It was weird. Cartoons in the early 2000s were really strange.
I really like the name Streaks. That's fun.
Mm-hmm. It's an orange cat. Looks like my cat, who's not here because he's banging an a-hole right now. He's trying to climb that shelf. No, for no other reason than the fact that he learned that it existed. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the highest point in the room. You should always climb the highest point in the room.
Oh no, that's the TV, which he also tries to climb sometimes, and I have to explain to him he can't jump 10 feet in the air. But yes, I think a tribe pet would be just a very, very much like a ninja pet, basically, kind of like tribe, where it's nothing. It might not be super special, but it has its own suit and can like run along walls with it. Because that just sounds terrifying to see tribe running up a wall and like a Great Dane in full body armor just following along after them.
This is not at all what I was imagining, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Or, oh god, what was I was trying to think of Timekeeper. All I can think of is like, I don't know. You pull some weird abomination from the future.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Where they specialized in like weird extinct animals or animals that are from different times. Things like that.
Yeah. I really like the idea that if you're a timekeeper, your pet can be a dinosaur. I like that a lot.
Archaeopteryx. Damn it, I think I got it close. It's close enough. Archaeopteryx. Max isn't here. Dang it. I finally got it right.
Nothing about that sounds right, but okay.
Archaeopteryx. It's the one with the wing. It's got the feathers. It's like that big. It's a chicken raptor. That's the best thing I know. It's my favorite dinosaur next to the Stegosaurus. Oh, Stegosaurus is next to it. It's my favorite dinosaur. I think freelancers' cool pets abilities probably exist. Probably like, maybe they're the.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, maybe not necessarily they have like specific things, or they might, but like maybe they can get some of the weirder stuff, or like they can have a freelancer ability that's like, hey, your pet's just tougher because it's like you. But I do love the idea of a freelancer with like a ghoul hound and like a what was the Cirrus cats, but they shouldn't be combat animal. Havoc hair, that's another one. Just some of the mutated beasts.
Well, and I think that brings up an interesting point. So like, effectively what we've talked about is like, okay, so you might have a small pet, you might have a large pet, you then, have a number of specialties that can upgrade that pet. But the typical lab operative gets 6 specialties over the course of their game.
Yes.
Whereas, a freelancer gets, I don't know, double that roughly.
Do they? I think they're about the same now.
Oh, are they?
I think we made them they might get one more. I'll check. Continue.
Well, so I think the main thing is that they get more specialties, right? So yeah. So,
I believe so.
So the freelancer gets 10 specialties in total compared to the 6 that a lab operative gets.
Well, that's more than I thought.
So,
Fair.
what does a freelancer get that's special? They get access to pets a lot faster and a lot better than everyone else does. So
Yeah.
They're
Which
finding
makes
it's
sense.
going to be better.
Yeah, I think that's something we have to play with. Like, make sure that the Nashers is a pet. Yes,
Ooh.
always have Nasher pets. Especially if we start doing some of the variant Nashers that we talked about on the stream. I don't know if did we talk about that on the stream or we talked about that after the stream about making flying Nashers.
Oh god, that sounds awful. Hey, I have
That sounds great.
fix the plumbing real quick. You talk about Nashers. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll talk about Nashers and other fun things. What else does the chat got? Let's see. Elemental Soulform. I think Soulform freelancers would be pretty fun. I'm trying to think what we're kind of playing with, but we talked about making, like we said, the familiars being much more closer to almost like an ability for you where you can do things. I think with the larger companions, like a Nasher would probably have to be a larger pet companion, and it has to, you might have to go catch a new one if it dies during downtime, or we don't want to just kill. We're trying not to just destroy pets because that's very boring and not fun unless it's part of the story and you guys want it to be. That's on you and your narrator. But Nashers as a pet, I think, would be a lot of fun, especially if you can get some mutations with it. Like getting a Nasher with a scent would be terrifying, I think, because their tongue whip combined with that would just be awful. Like the beat. See, Eric, I don't remember that movie, mostly because I think it came out before I was born, but I've seen it because I watched a lot of old movies when I was growing up as a kid. When I was growing up. But Beastmaster, that's a really good way to describe it. You have the small companions that are assistants, kind of. Now everyone gets little worm companions, basically. Let's see, is there anything? Actually, you know what? I'll talk about it real quick because Eric kind of mentioned it. Dinosaur with lasers. Like we said, talk about the Patreon real quick. Briefly, if you want to go support the Patreon, you can. We're doing some new things where we're going to be putting out 2 confrontations, hopefully each month. One will be Patreon exclusive. One will be Patreon exclusive for a month and then come out. One of them is that's coming out is currently titled Dinosaurs, Apes, and Cyborgs. Oh my! Still kind of playing with that a bit, but the teaser for that is Triceratops railgun horns. Yeah, see, so Eric was talking about the ferret thieves and like hawks for scouting. I think that'd be really good because you can definitely play around with things like making a rat or a mouse for stealing things or a ferret. You can use some flying creatures for scouting things, which can be wisdom based. In intelligence based, you maybe have a little buddy that can help you make things, or is just like Pinky and the Brain from the old Animaniacs. There was a really great comment I saw about social using like a pet to like do a trick when performing to kind of increase its social role. Yes, the horns are the railguns for the Triceratops. No one else tell Daniel anything.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, let's go back for a second. Did you just say, like, using a pet to help you make things, like a Pinky and the Brain sort of pet?
Yes.
That's awesome. I'm also trying to imagine them, like, helping you on social roles, and I really like this concept of, like, I don't know, like, when diplomacy breaks down, just, I don't know, throw your little, like, cute chinchilla at the enemy. Like, they won't be able to attack you. They're holding a chinchilla.
Listen, if 90s sitcoms taught me anything, it's that pets make every social interaction a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, because when you're at a party and you're like feeling awkward and shy, but someone's like, "Hey, you want to see a picture of my dog?" Suddenly, you're best friends for a bit. Instead, you're like, hey, you want to see my giant rabbit, saber-toothed tiger thing? Sure. My pet is so cute, it causes diplomacy to work.
I think that's an interesting trick.
Yeah. I mean, Tad kind of did that. His pet was just a grenade.
Ah, yes, the grenade pet.
Yeah. It's like Pet Rock, only it's the new extreme version of it. They had to really up it. This one comes with cool kung fu explosion.
So I think that pretty well covers this kind of like small pet concept. This concept of a pet that doesn't have hit points, doesn't have a wound threshold, etc., etc. Where you basically just get, the way that I imagine this is that we won't define, what that pet is. You, the player, define what that is. We just give you a series of tricks in a list, and you would pick, 2 or 3, whatever is balanced correctly, to provide to that pet.
Exactly. Plus, I think you could even we could even throw, because I know both of us really want to make more items in the game for people to play around with and to customize things more. We could have small things like that, like, hey, if you have a little small pet companion, you can give it this goggles that let it see in the dark further, things like that can be upgraded onto it. Like small things you can kind of get rewards for, stuff like that. But then if you're someone that really wants to just have a pet cat, cool. You don't have to worry about it. If it's you guys are going into the dangerous radioactive bunker with super radiation, it'll just sit inside your radiation suit with you. You don't have to worry about things like that. Or it has its own suit. But yeah, I think that way it can. Or if you want to be that really weird animal person that just always has some sort of bird or squirrel or ferret in their hair, or just poking out randomly and just looking around, then it can just change. Just change what it is and whatnot. Just make sure the tricks follow along with what it is. And then the more larger companions would be much more like the robot companions we're planning on working on. Is making them more here's the base, and that's model and then upgrade it. And that's one of the things we're trying to do more of, is make base models for things like vehicles, robots, the weapons, the suit, the armor, and companions and pet companions, so that you can kind of take a starter piece and then add on to it. At least that's the goal, and so far we're slowly making our way there.
I don't know if it's because I've been watching Runaways recently, but I just can't stop thinking about having a timekeeper with a pet dinosaur. It just makes me really happy.
Pet dinosaur. That's right. You missed the adventure. I told them a little bit about the teaser adventure that I was doing that you haven't gotten to read yet.
Oh, your cyborg dinosaurs?
Yeah. With some weirds. Oh wait, you might be reading it now.
No, I've seen the document. I haven't read it.
I've opened it up, but I have not read it. I do that a lot.
Yeah, God, it's my
because
life.
something else pops up. Can you fire from behind while in combat pet attacks? I think you could, kind of like a teamwork thing.
Well, so we don't. There's no firing into melee or firing through allies sort of mechanic in Retroscape. It's always assumed that you can, unless, I think there's a argument to be made for narrator's discretion on if you're firing through multiple people, you might be firing through a crowd, and that would count as cover. But if you're just firing from behind your animal, there's not going to be any penalty for that. Now, I do kind of like the idea of, if you have a combat level animal, being able to use your animal as cover, or using your animal to deflect for you or stuff like that. Sounds really interesting to me.
I think your pet. I definitely think the pet could take damage for you to a degree. It could almost act like. I mean, that could be a way to do it too. Is like maybe having them act as like a buffer of hit points and stuff, where almost like a power suit. You could maybe we could play with it like that, where they're a power suit, and once their hit points are done, you now lose all of those abilities they had active. So you no longer have that range or whatever. Which I don't know, maybe an idea, but who knows? Play around with it. What happens when you fire at a grappler? If you're firing at a grappler, well, it kind of depends. Generally, if you're firing at someone grappled and they're just being held, it's just a regular attack, unless they're in some way being restrained, which I don't remember if that specialty is active yet, where you can like kind of restrain someone to give others advantage.
Yeah, so there is a specialty. Yes, exactly. Where you can give someone advantage if they're being grabbed, but by default, unless there is a specialty that overrides this rule,
Yes.
And Pathfinder, I think it's Pathfinder, maybe D&D, I don't know. One of these games has a really interesting mechanic where they say that the specific overrules the general. This is a weird dragon, but
I think they both do.
Yeah, actually, I think every system inherently has this rule. It's just an interesting way of thinking about it. The specific overrides the general. The general statement is that if you are grabbing someone and somebody else attacks that person gets no benefits, there's no change, there's no cover, there's nothing. Nothing weird is going on. And the way that I think of a typical grab is like, let's say that, Jake throws a punch at me and I grab his arm, or I grab him by his collar or something like that. Jake still has a fair amount of movement that he can do. He can move closer to me, he can pull away, he can kind of duck down, he can use his physique to move around still. So he is not currently really grabbed or held in such a way. Now there is a specialty where you can, when you're grabbing someone, they are now at a disadvantage. Or is it allies get advantage while attacking? I think that's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, allies get advantage while attacking because I'm so good at grabbing someone that when I grab someone, I can hold them in place well enough that my allies get advantage while attacking them. But in general, that's not. The general rule is that there's not a change there.
I'm answering a thing that I saw. Which is kind of how we've run all of the system is the basic rule is no, but it's like the worst game of improv. No, but. Like you're talking about, actually trying to talk about what you're talking about, the grabbing someone, like shooting through an ally. If you're shooting past an ally, generally you can be like, hey, get down, and they'll move to the side because you've worked together and trust each other. If there's like a horde of ghouls between you and the target you're shooting towards, I'm going to say that's a disadvantage probably, because you're trying to... What was that? Curve the Bullet. I don't remember that movie now. It's the movie where Angelina Jolie and the guy that played Xavier in the new X-Men movies, and Morgan Freeman. I'm just ranting now. I can't remember what it is. Curve the Bullet. That movie. Wanted. Yes.
I love that movie.
I saw you mouth the word wanted, but not say it out loud.
I forget my speaker takes like 3 seconds to turn on. So like if I use it to mute myself, it annoys me.
If you get to say wanted, curved bullet. So if you're trying to shoot through a bunch of people, that's going to be hard to do, because as much as we want to give you the action movie stuff, if you can do it, the enemies can do it. Mm-hmm. Which is that's usually my rule. If someone ever asks me, I've never had it in playtesting. It's usually like homebrew games and things like that. I think I had it happen one time in playtesting where a little kid was like, well, why does it work that way? Well, do you want the enemy to be able to do that to you? No. I'm like, that's why. Oh. But so yeah, it's going to be a lot of narrator discretion, which from playing tabletop games for a few years now, I know. Wow, I've almost been playing for a decade technically.
That's it?
Well, okay, listen, man.
We've been developing Retroscape for like 6 years.
You've been developing Retroscape for... I've been doing it for 3. I've been doing it for like 2.5.
Oh, Jake. I don't think that's true at all.
I joined in 2017. My third year just... I believe my third year just... Oh, wait, no. My Facebook's wrong, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I joined in 2016, didn't I?
I think so.
Oh, no. Okay, either way. I've not been here 6 years. I know that. I should say, like, I've been gaming regularly the last, like... Well, really the last 2 years, been gaming regularly, but I started playing when I was 18 a little bit with some friends. But, what was I saying? Oh, the narrator rule. Narrator overrules. I know that rule, and we're going to kind of put in the narrator guide section, whether it's a full book or just a section of, hey, if you're wanting to do some more realism, talk to your players about that, let them know, and here are some alternatives you can do. Kind of like the ammo counting we talked about. Like, generally, we don't count ammo. That's the norm. The exception is special ammo or things that require it. However, if you're going to play a very real, gritty game, you could count ammo. If you guys are wanting to play like super survival game, go ahead and count ammo. So, we never want to tell people not to play our game. We always want to tell them, don't play our game like a dick. Be nice to each other.
Okay, I have to apologize. I am totally going down the deep end of figuring out when you contacted me.
You know what? I might have that email. Hang on.
Oh, I totally have that email. So Tefra inquiries.
Do we want to talk about how Jake joined Parlor?
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Apparently, so I. Huh.
Wait, do you have the first email I ever sent where I sounded like such?
Well, so you asked me questions about Invisible Blade, Gauntlets. Yeah, you.
Oh God.
Oh wow, this is funny. Yeah, so I responded. I responded on March 24th of 2016. Which, knowing me, is probably like a month after you sent your initial email.
Yes, it was, I think.
So, yeah, but I think your original question was about, like, can gauntlets count as light weapons, and can gauntlets be upgraded, stuff like that. Which, for Tefra, was no, and for Retroscape is yes.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, I think I sent 3 emails. I sent 3 different emails, and they were all questions because on the website it said, hey, if you have inquiries, here's the inquiry. And I asked the question, and you answered pretty quickly, and I was like, cool. And then, like 2 weeks later, and I was running Tefra, and something happened in game. I was like, hey, I'm about to run this game, about to run a big campaign arc. I have a question. And I sent the question in, and I think you emailed me, you or someone else emailed me saying, hey, these are really good questions. I'm sorry I'm really busy. We'll get to these as soon as we can. Can you shoot us an email in like a week to remind us to review it? And I was like, cool. So I waited like 2 weeks because I was like, I don't want to bother them. They must be really busy working on stuff, which you guys were. And then I emailed you guys like 2 weeks later, and then I think I went, like, I didn't hear anything for a little bit. And then I sent another email that was like, hey, yeah, I think I was ahead of him. I was like, I just really wanted this question. Also, I was like, I saw you guys were working on a project soon, and you guys were starting to look for new playtesters, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't heard back from the people that were running the playtesting, so I was like, I'll just email this inquiry. And I did that, and I asked my questions, and then I get an email as I'm sitting in a cafe, and I look at my phone, and I about shouted in the cafe because the email was, hey, these are really good questions. I can't answer these right now. Do you have Facebook? I was like, yeah, sure. And then I got on Facebook, and then you pulled me into a developer Facebook group thing, and I was just like starstruck. I'm like, oh my god, this is insane. And then, yeah, Daniel let me work on some Tephra stuff, and I worked on Valdrew, and I worked on Shark Bait. Oh, that was the third thing I did.
Yeah, the Tephra Adventure Shark Bait.
Yeah, I think I finished it or whatever. I edited some things and added some things to it, and then I worked on Galedrin, and I worked on like some things that just never got released because they never got done. But we're probably gonna steal for some Retroscape stuff and eventually, do some other Tephra things down the line. But yeah, and then like all of a sudden Daniel was like, "Hey, we have this new project." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." He goes, "No, you're working on it." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yep.
But yeah, I need to change it. If that's 2016, I got to change my thing. Hang on. Yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, this would have been my fourth year. You're right.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's insane. Yeah, because 2017 was my first ever convention with you. Period. Actually, my first ever convention. Period.
Yeah, the first time I met you in person.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't hate each other.
Not entirely. No. We're still
No,
there.
I mean I didn't hate you at all. I'm just gonna drink my whiskey now.
Well, we're on to sake tasting of the evening. I have no idea what I'm drinking, but I like it.
That's fair. Okay, the real question is, where is the wanted curve the bullet specialties? Well, that's a good question. In development is the best answer I can give you. Because
sorry.
part of us can't...
Excuse me.
Wait, are they not... Oh yeah, they are out!
I mean, like, I'm sorry. Tribe is basically built for Curve the Bullet.
So is Facet.
And Facet, Facet literally has, like, huge projectile bending abilities. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've hit that quota.
I think we have to. Granted, I don't know. It might not be as like out there as it should be right now, but I think and granted, I can't remember what's live and what's not right now. Doesn't Facet have? They have their prism grid, right, where they can put little prism grids out. Isn't one of the abilities we were either doing or have done where you can shoot through it to just do a right angle, or like just shoot through them to basically shoot a target like in a different room?
Yeah. So let me. I'm totally just gonna open up the live Facet page, just so I can...
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah, okay, so at first level you have bin sight, so we know that. At first level we also have hard light ammo, so you can create ammunition out of hard light. Okay, so... Also at first level we have phasing projectiles. So if an enemy is behind cover, you can spend 2 momentum to negate the disadvantage on the attack provided by the cover. I don't like that wording. I may have to change that later.
That's fair.
Alright. And then... Ammo...
I've never seen Running Man, so I don't know what Fireball the Hunter is.
Yeah.
But I'll say sure.
So, Ammo Bender, 5th level Facet. Requires hard light ammo and bin sight. You can attack a target that is around a corner with hard light ammo. You choose the target and attack like normal. You bend the attack around cover.
Okay, yeah, it's cool. So yeah, we have done something like that. There you go, Brennan. Go to Facet.
There you go. Now you can curve the bullet. Except the bullet is light.
You're curving light. You're bending it entirely. Congratulations, you're even better. You're a Green Lantern now. Okay. Why do we not have more of those abilities?
More of what? More hard light abilities?
More Green Lantern abilities.
Well, okay, so... I don't know if you've read the Facet channel in our development chat, but I totally posted a lot of information about hard light creation yesterday, or the day before. Days are weird now.
If it was yesterday, I have not, because do you remember what I was doing yesterday while you were writing that stuff?
Oh yeah,
I was on a weird.
doing other productive.
I was
things.
I was on a weird writing bender.
We were both on weird writing benders yesterday that had like no overlap, but was productive.
Yeah. Brayden, you're right. It doesn't involve swinging the pistol. So what you can do is, because Facet is all about performative art to a degree, just swing it anyway and fire.
Just
Do some of that Metal Gear Solid Ocelot gun flipping stuff, and as you do it, fire. Also, that sounds like a cool social ability to just like distract people with your gun flourishes or weapon flourishes to get like some kind of bonus.
distract people with your gun flourishes to get some kind of bonus. Okay. I mean that.
Look, I know you were around for the gun kata era, okay? You were around during that era.
Dude, I love the gun kata era. I'm not gonna lie. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we can't go 3 months without talking about the fact that I very much do not want there to be a penalty for attacking ranged weapons in melee.
I know, and I know, and there's moments I'm like, yeah, but why? And granted, I don't know why I have that thought. I think it's just because there's that part of my brain that goes, a sword and an assault rifle, the difference is one has really long range and one requires one hand. Which, granted, those are two big things, but it's still my brain going, but they still feel like they should have. And granted, it's because I watch too many action movies where it's like, well, that gun's too close. You shouldn't be that close to that guy because he can just take it and beat you with it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, the thing that I always think about in these debates is that unlike D&D and a bunch of other games, we don't have a really prevalent weapons switching mechanic. For us, switching weapons is a free interaction.
Yeah, unless you're doing it more than once, then you actually do have to use stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, one free interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah,
if
you're having to switch more than that, it's a problem.
Generally, if I'm adjacent to you, a one-handed sword versus a one-handed gun, the sword is going to do more damage. So I'm going to switch to my sword.
Yeah.
But if I'm super well trained in gun katas, then I'm going to stay with my gun. Brendan asked about the gun kata era. So like, the thing that everyone knows is Matrix, which is not quite gun kata, but it's pretty darn close to it.
Yeah, which was there was two movies that came out at the exact same time. Yes. One came out a week before, or on the same day they came out.
Yeah, no, like Matrix came out like a week before.
Equilibrium.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. And see, that's the biggest thing is that Equilibrium is never remembered.
Yeah, Matrix totally overshadowed it. But
oh no, we don't. Gun kata's not gone. Like, we never made specialties for it. It's just a joke we have about, like, unless everyone, basically kind of our argument about ranged weapons at close range. Unless everyone just knows gun kata, it's things like that.
Yeah, Equilibrium is, I don't want to say it's one of my favorite movies, but I think the combat scenes in it are fascinating. So if you haven't seen Equilibrium, the main character in it has basically trained in pistol-based martial arts, which is a up close and personal firearm-based martial arts thing. I don't know. It's beautiful to watch. It's very fun. I highly recommend that movie, which is not aging as well as Matrix, but it's still a pretty fun movie. So,
I mean, if you go and watch Matrix right now, it does not age that well either.
That's probably fair.
Well, sorry, I haven't seen one lately. I've seen 2 and 3. 2 and 3 did not age well. 1 might have. But to be fair, if it's a movie from that long ago, World of Warcraft didn't age that well. I'm sorry, tiny tangent. I just watched World of Warcraft recently. That movie didn't age well. And it's only like 3 years old.
I had forgotten that was a movie.
Listen, at some point we'll do Jake and Daniel talk movies, because I have so many opinions on certain movies that mean nothing because it's an opinion. It's a movie. It's art. Love it if you want. But yeah, robots. Wow.
No, so okay. So there's a couple of things I want to transition back into companions. So we talked about small pets. So the big pets, I think that the big pet system can be very similar to robot companion as a specialty. But maybe with tricks. So maybe we have the same list of tricks that you can have for your small animal, but with your large animal. I think the only question I have there is like, why would you ever pick a small animal when you can pick a large animal?
I think it. So for like an actual, I'm sorry, my brain shut off for a brief moment because I smelled the whiskey. So why would you choose a small one over a large one? Is that what you're asking?
So okay, so your first level, you get one specialty. You know that you want a dog, let's say, right? That's what's in your head.
Yeah.
You can either choose the small pet specialty, in which you get this like mystical non-hit point pet that follows you and is cute, or you can have the combat animal specialty, which has stats. Now, which one do you choose, right? Like, and now hypothetically, well, so I guess that's the question. So does the if you choose the small animal specialty, should it be able to do more damage than the big animal? And
I don't know, because that
seems weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say no. I'd say it can maybe have some unique abilities, because, I mean, here's the thing. Granted, dogs are kind of a weird thing, but generally, if a dog bites me versus a wolf biting me, generally, the wolf will probably hurt more. Now, granted, I realize there's about 1,000 different kinds of dogs, so that's a bad example. Let me go with, if a horned lizard and an alligator bite me, they're two very different injuries.
I want to address some things in the chat real quick.
Yes.
And y'all are going to get my full, like, Daniel as developer thoughts on this, which I don't always share. But, okay, so Curly asked, how about small pets not being a specialty? People could just have a rabbit or whatever. So one, if we don't have it be tricks, like if there's no tricks associated with it, and you just want to flavor your character as, I have a rabbit. That rabbit is with me. It's cute. It's a rabbit. Great. That sounds awesome. I have no issue with that. I think that's great. And in fact, I think that could be a really fun freelancer gimmick. I think it could be a really fun network staple, where like those are imprint now, where you just have a simple pet, no trick, maybe one trick. Yeah, I like that idea a lot, actually. Or this is going to be weird. You can have a. Oh, this is a weird thought. You can have a pet as... Yeah, there's too much socket. You can have a pet as a skill. So in exchange for a skill point, you can have a trick with a small pet.
That is such a bizarre... That sounds more like it might be a gimmick for freelancer, but I can agree a skill might make sense too.
Yeah, or... and then you can apply your skills as you level to this pet in order to get more tricks.
Could be, yeah. Though at that point, that also just... And granted, to not bog it down, that either would need to be like a supplement that does that, or it sounds like it should just be a specialty where when you level, as part of this leveling, like your pet gets stronger, you can, instead of taking a skill, put it towards the pet. Which kind of fits with our...
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, but generally, I think our kind of rule that always sticks is this for that stuff of it. If it's a specialty, the narrator can't take it away technically, long term.
Right.
Like if a narrator takes away your pet and just says you can't have it back, but you took a specialty, probably don't play with that narrator anymore or have a talk with them first. Like be like, have a talk. But if a pet is bought, it can go away. Like, there's nothing for a narrator to say, all right, well, you spent your 100 gold on your cool camouflage rabbit. It died. Go buy another one.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we... so in development, we try really hard to... How do I say? So the narrator is responsible for providing a story, giving you experience, and giving you rewards and treasure. What I find is that most narrators are really good at those first two and really bad at that third one. And that's not a judgment on narrators. It's actually more of a judgment on myself. The way
it's a hard thing to balance.
Well, the way that I typically narrate is that I don't give hardly any monetary rewards in my games, and that's just my habit as a narrator. And then in our live game, we were 6 or 7 episodes in before we received any money of any sort. So if I thought of Tad, for example, if Tad in my brain had a hedgehog that he wanted to have, then I would have been out of luck until the 4th game in which I actually had money. So I think that anything that we can tie into specialties is good. Now, I guess I should backtrack though. I do actually think that pets should be something that you can purchase.
They should be. It's just, it's like buying a grenade. If it goes away, it's gone.
So honestly, I think what we've just determined from this whole thing is that pets should be part of the crafting system. Where you
yeah.
Wow, actually, yeah, no, that's exactly what it should be. Where you take a specialty, you get a certain amount of money to spend on a pet. You can spend more money if you have it. Yeah,
I think it's a combination of things. Kind of like how I think it's gonna be both. So I think that kind of like how, for example, the poison crafting. There are specialties that allow you to, if you take I think it's like Poison Master, all of your poisons increase in their target number to overcome, if I'm not mistaken. But if you want to buy more poisons outside of what you normally get, you can do that. So it literally is treated like a craft at that point. You're right, where we can kind of just, it's a social craft.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Which actually I think works pretty well. Let's see, what was it? Sorry, I saw a good question there. I thought that's one of the small creatures. Yeah. I think generally for the investment thing, because Eric was talking about the investment of smaller creatures, if you are investing anything beyond credits towards a creature, it should probably get to come back. If it doesn't come back immediately, there needs to be a story thing involved, and you get some reward in the end later. But kind of like crafting, it's literally crafting. It's basically crafting, where if you have a crafting... If you craft a sword and the sword gets broken, as long as you made that sword, you can fix it again and make it again without having to pay the credits for it. Now, if you put on an upgrade onto it that wasn't crafted by you, I think that's a good question actually. Yeah, no, you would have to replace it, right? Is that what it was?
Say that one more time for me.
So, if you craft a sword, you can replace it in your breather. like if you had made it, but if it like had the chainsaw augment or whatever, and it broke, would you get to replace the chainsaw as well if you spent credits on it? Credits outside of that little bubble of credits you get.
Okay, so
that's a.
Okay, so one, I'm gonna backtrack just slightly. So I think if you have the weapon crafting specialty,
Yes.
and I don't think this is the way it currently works, but I think this is how it should work. I think it should work that you can repair things that are broken.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a sword and you had only upgraded the chainsaw augment upgrade, and the chainsaw or the sword breaks, you can repair the whole thing. Because you're a weapon crafter. You can repair your weapons. You can repair your friend's weapons. You can repair all weapons. Weapons are yours to repair. Now, the next logical statement, grenades.
Mm-hmm.
If you use a grenade and you're a grenade crafter, you can only replace the grenades that you specifically craft from the ground up in its entirety.
Yes, that's from the specialty, which will be. That's what we were changing. That's what it was. I remember now. We were making it so that you could have your little pool of things that you can always. Yeah, okay, that's right. Remembering things that we talked about.
You sound really convinced of this. I'm not 100%, but I like it. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, basically it was like for the consumable items like that was you have your little pool, like you have your six special types of upgrades you can make for. I'll use poisons. You have 6 poisons that you can always make that you can always have ready. Let's say if you're damaged, you're sleepy, you're dizzy, you're whatever. Then it was based on your intelligence. You could always have so many of those done during a breather.
Mm-hmm.
So you could choose to make 5 painful ones. When you do your next breather, you can make more of that little kind of bubble. But anything outside of that, when you start using credits, you're having to spend credits. Yeah. You're spending half the credits still, and you might even lower that in some cases, or make specialties where you can make it even cheaper. At that point, you were just a poison fiend, which sounds like a good specialty. I don't know why. So yeah, that's what we were kind of doing, is going towards that. That way, we didn't have to worry about the credits that we were giving for crafting, especially when you had 50 credits left over, but you didn't have credits left over in character creation. So that's what we were kind of moving towards still, or we were. I hope we still are. It made sense to me.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. I think that really. I know I get in trouble for this, but I often think about Tephra and my development for Tephra. So one of the things that I like about Tephra is the slot system, right? Where you make a weapon and it has 3 slots, and you can repair it and rebuild it with your DIY score, and it's all pretty simple and straightforward. Now, I think Retroscape and our use of credits moves more towards realism. There's a lot less mental gymnastics required for Retroscape compared to Tephra's DIY system, because the Tephra DIY system and money do not intermingle. There is no connection between DIY and money. It doesn't work. Whereas for us, we are trying to make Retroscape have that connection. Unfortunately, that makes it a little bit more difficult, because the player then kind of has to go do that currency math of okay, well, I spent 750 credits on these 7 grenades, but it's actually just half of that. There's 375 credits on these 7 grenades, and I used these 3 grenades, and now...
And which ones did I spend my credits on? Which one? Yeah. So that's why we're kind of moving towards that other way of, here's your 6, I always know these, which is kind of a little bit inspired by Tephra, actually. Because it was inspired, actually, by my friends over at Dragon Mail Chainmail. Shout out to them, because I love their work. If you like chainmail bracelets and stuff, go check them out. But they were asking me some questions about Tefra because they had bought the books at Midwest Game Fest and they've been loving playing it. And we got to, by the way, side note, we got to talk to them soon because their group might be doing streams too for things. Anyway, I got to remember to reach out to them. So in that, like, kind of giving that little, like, here's your little bubble, you can use these, and then the crafting things are the other things. So it's almost like we'll have generally 3 crafting things of you can repair stuff with your weapons crafting because it's a permanent item. You can replenish certain consumable items, and with the pet thing, which craft is kind of the term we'll use right now, but it's like a social craft more than anything else, where you can do certain things on a certain time frame. I think, honestly, during a breather, you're probably not going to be able to catch a new pet and train it. You're probably going to need some time to do that, if it's something like that. Though, in that case, it'll probably be a much sturdier creature. Kind of follow the same rules of if you follow the same rules as you. If for some reason it dies, it'd be like if one of you players died. They don't a breather doesn't make everything better.
Yeah.
By the way,
having them come back during a downtime is the way to go. Like,
yeah. And you also do it the kind of like, is it a downtime where it would make sense to come back? That's always a thing to play with too.
Yeah.
Narrator's discretion at that point. But acquisitions, which now that we're doing this new version of crafting and this kind of pet version of crafting, I think acquisitions is going to become much better because both you and I hated it for a while. Because it was a specialty that just was... It looked like it would be so cool, and it was just kind of bad. A Pokeball type mechanic. You know what? Maybe that would be cool. Or something like that, based on what kind of animal you have. I think... My brain just... It's just kind of like that, where like, hey, here's a set of things you can pull from. You can get so many of these based on your social skill, which I think will work well. Social specialties are going to be weird, I realize, because they're going to be kind of the most system bendy, breaky of sorts.
Some of them, yeah. I think, honestly, looking over the brainstorm that we have going on, there's a lot of them that are pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with them. The ones that we have kind of in development, I'm not as worried about, but you are correct. The specialties that are going to bend and or break and or tweak and or rewrite the system in certain ways, they're often going to be housed in social.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for Braun to... Sure, I still want to... I haven't gotten a full city. I want to make a Braun specialty that's inspired by an old game I used to play with my friends. I used to play Exalted with my friends, which the whole point of Exalted was to basically be fantasy superheroes. That's the entire thing. That's what you are. There was a specialty in there, and they're called specialties or charms, whatever they were, where you could basically punch a wagon to the sun. Like, that was in the description. Because if you had a 10 strength, or 10 strength, it didn't matter what you did. You could throw a mountain. Which I kind of played with Ascent, I think, with the Gajans. Like, super feats of strength infusion he got. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do like...
Okay.
I like what Curly and Brennan are going to talk about, like, maybe if an animal companion dies, maybe it runs away, or it faints, or things like that, so it temporarily goes away for a moment.
Mm-hmm. So in my brainstorm thread, I talked about like small pets, specifically for small pets. If the pet is attacked or wounded or something like that, like the pet just becomes wounded automatically and stops being available to you, but is like, they're not dead. The only way that they would die is if like the GM, the narrator, came in and said like, hey, you just got hit by a meteor, the pet died, they were roasted, you now get a new pet during your next downtime. That would be the only instance of that. So I think Okay, so here's something I think about is the emotional impact on a player when they lose something. All right.
Yes.
So, when you play a fantasy RPG, you know, if your player loses a leg or an arm, that can have a huge impact, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, that changes the way that the player visualizes their character. If that character has had if they've made a miniature for their character, well,
Yeah.
you know, now they're like, okay, well, my miniature has an arm. Like, I don't know. Can you imagine? Oh my god, everyone can imagine like that player who's like, I lose an arm. Well, okay, great. I'm gonna take my miniature and pry the arm off and throw the arm away. I hate this game. I mean,
Yeah.
that we've all experienced something like that. But like, you know, that can have a real impact on the player. The same thing can happen in Retroscape for animals. So with limbs, we're kind of lucky because we have prosthesis. Like, prostheses are part of the main game. And it's kind of assumed that, you know, your character, maybe not necessarily that they're going to lose a limb, but if they lose a limb, there's an alternative. They pay 50 credits. It's not even a whole lot of credits. They pay 50 credits and they get a Delphi grade limb that's exactly as good as a normal limb. They're fine. It's whatever. But for their animal, if their animal dies, that has an emotional impact on the player. And gosh, I almost feel like there should be like some sort of like trigger warning or like note to the narrator that says like, hey, dude, if your player is really invested in their pet, don't kill the pet.
Yeah, that's also just that's just the rules of narrator, and I feel like I'm gonna go on a rant. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Yeah. I've been very lucky to be a part of a lot of great narrators. I played some one shots and some small campaigns before. The narrators or game masters, dungeon masters, whatever you want to call them, some have been great. There's some one shots I loved, and there are some that I've been in that I'm like, I don't understand why I'm still playing this game. Like I play games that kind of get emotional at times. Like I have killed NPCs because it was part of the story. However, players have also died in my games. Max's character I think I've killed 3 of Max's characters now. I do not intentionally do it. In one of the game groups we're in, 2 of their characters have died in the same game group, kind of for similar reasons, but just because the dice hated them, and they were in the big bad guy's face. But I had a rule of like, listen, you can choose for your character to die, or you can choose for your character to come out of this with some massive injury or things like that. Or if you're a player who just really doesn't want to lose a character, I give the option, like, if you prefer none of that, you can just let your character live. I have no problem with that. If you're emotionally invested, my goal is not to hurt you to the point where you don't want to play anymore. If you are emotionally invested and you choose to be hurt by a story, that's good. If that's what you're wanting, go for it. Like, those emotional role plays are awesome. If you want to just have awesome if you want Lord of the Rings, I always see get compared to 2 different things. Everyone either sees it as like, it's lots of battles and fighting, yeah, or it's emotional and story impacting. It can be both. You can have the emotion inside of the combat stuff, but I've been in those games where it like feels like you can't get anything done, or the narrator wants to take away things and like maybe brags about their taking away stuff, or like, oh man, it's like, I wish you guys could just figure out this puzzle. Like, if you're a narrator that says things like that, you shouldn't. You should stop. Like, just don't do that. It's not fun. And then you're gonna be that person that everyone talks about like a year down the road, and you're not in the game group anymore, and you're gonna wonder why. Or you're those people that we read articles about that are like the gatekeepers, gatekeepers, that's what it is, who make it so new players don't want to join. And I'm not saying that I've had to chew out people at conventions before, but Daniel's seen me maybe have a talk with a player before who came up to our booth multiple times. So yeah. Just,
you know, one of the things I think about when you... that thought just went straight out of my head. Never mind.
Moral of the story, don't be a dick. Be nice, talk to the players, talk to your narrator. If you don't like something, talk to each other.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. So one of the things I really like about creating or one of the things that I don't see enough is RPGs where the player kind of interacts with the narrator. So oftentimes we assume that the narrator is going to define 100% of the story elements, right? Whereas the character really has the player really has a prerogative to come to the narrator and say, hey, I want to be able to explore this scenario where my animal companion is killed.
Mm-hmm.
And the grief that I go through, and selecting a new animal companion to fit my specialty, because that's in the rules, and growing with that new animal companion, right? And, like, can you imagine this scenario where, like, okay, so I start off as a first level player, I have this animal companion, and this animal companion is a 13-year-old DNA upgraded super wolf.
Right.
Who is my protector. And, like, I just see this animal, this wolf, as my, like, guardian angel wolf creature. And we're, like, 4 or 5 sessions in, and Mike, and this character, or this wolf, dies protecting me. And now my character has to go through this scenario of, like, okay, first I have to grieve for my wolf, I have to finish this dungeon without my guardian angel, and I have to learn that I can fend for myself, which is not something I've ever had to do for myself. And then after we come out of this mission, I have to find a new animal and adopt this animal and teach this animal to fight with me. And, like, from a player perspective, I think that's, oh man, I love that idea. I want to play that character, right?
Yeah.
But so often, from the player's perspective, it is the kind of the narrator's job to provide all of those story elements, right? Very few players have ever come to me and said, hey, Daniel, I really want to play this scenario where this thing happens to my character and I have to deal with these consequences. That's fairly uncommon. And I think it'd be really good for us to really push characters, or push the player to understand that they are a collaborator in this story. And if they want to be able to explore elements with their player, their character, they should do that, and they should talk to their narrator. And not everything is going to align. We're not going to get 100%, but
no.
I think there's a lot of room for that sort of, like, collaboration to be really powerful and really positive and really fun at the gaming table.
Oh yeah, actually, you know what? Because you mentioned that, Robert, who you've got to interact with a few times, who wrote one of our adventures. What's in the pipes? Something in the pipes. He's been a DM for me, and one of the best lines is about character interaction, where, and I kind of try and do it with you guys, of, I'm running the world, but if you guys have interactions or world stuff that you want to do, you can say it. Because I like you guys getting to kind of build the world. Like, when, obviously, you have kind of a cheat where you can go, I'm like, this is a thing for Tad and Depot, because I'm a developer, I can do what I want. But, like, Max, who is not involved in development, has gotten to say things about just Seth and parts of the world and, like, how they view it to a degree. And kind of built up stuff, which I love doing that. But with what you're talking about, we always called it knives. You're giving the DM knives of, hey, here's something I care about. I give you permission to use it in the story. I understand that it could be used against me. It might just be used for motivation. I could lose it, but here is your knife. Enjoy yourself. Like, it's kind of that kind of idea. Oh yeah, Critical Role. I still have not watched the first season. I need to at some point.
You know, I've always heard that Critical Role isn't as great on the first season, and that like the second season is where to start for a lot of people.
I like the second season a lot. I'm like 5 or 6 episodes behind. I know the first season a lot. I think what I've been told is to skip the first like 20 some episodes because they were still kind of finding their footing.
Wow.
And as you get further and they get their footing more.
Mm-hmm.
But granted, I understand. I watched the first 3 episodes and I was kind of like, I don't like certain characters how they're portrayed right now. And granted, also like sound qualities and stuff. I'm like, those things are also like years old. But if you watch some of the, like, I watched highlights from the later, like the end of the season stuff, and I'm like, oh man, this campaign's awesome. I really want to watch this so I can feel the emotional buildup they feel. So yeah, things like that.
Do you think in like 5 years people are gonna be like, oh yeah, make sure to watch Retroscape like season 2, but you know, the sound quality from season 1 was and that episode 5 where they had all those technical issues. Oof.
But be sure to watch episode 7 or whatever it is when Tad threatens a bunch of guys with grenades.
But then he does it again in episode 9 and 14 and 18 and...
Yeah, there's a Tad threatens with grenades tally marker.
I mean,
that is one of the episodes are very long, which we do try and keep ours like that 2-hour mark, which there's definitely moments where I'm like, I wish we could go like an extra hour. Yeah. Because it's that narrator part of my brain, like I wish we could either start a little earlier or go a little later, but I know we do that 2-hour mark so that way if we do go over, we don't go too far over.
I agree.
But yeah, I'm trying to think about that. With our robot companions, I'm really excited. What did we did something with robots recently. Did I do something with robots recently?
Oh man, we've done so much with robots recently. Okay, but okay. So I want to take a step back real quick.
Yes.
All right. So we just determined that combat pets are basically a craft, right?
Yes, a social craft at that.
Social craft.
And they'll have regular crafting if you're upgrading them in some way.
Yep. We also know that robots are craft.
Yes, which makes minions.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, minions would just be a social craft as well at that point, I think.
Oh, I'm so glad that you just hit the same wavelength that I was projecting out there.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is if we can combine everything into like a single craft that we just call like, I don't know, companion.
I don't want. Here's the reason why.
Okay.
I don't want to. Self-destruct would have to go away.
No.
Because
that would be a robot-only thing, right?
Okay, cool.
Like,
that's fine then.
So
that's fine.
If you think of this like weapons.
Okay.
Right. So like weapons have general weapon abilities, melee weapon, ranged weapon upgrades.
Oh.
Right. So like this would be the same thing where you have companions. Now you have, robot exclusive upgrades.
Okay.
I don't want to call them minions. Let's call them accomplices. Accomplices, right? Like these are your accomplices. Okay. Background story for everyone who's listening. We're talking about like, you have Jim. Jim goes with you on missions. Jim carries your shit. Excuse my language. Jim, in a gunfight, isn't very good. He's not all that great. He carries around a pistol. Sometimes he gets off a couple shots. Jim's not that good. But in the right moment, Jim pulls that lever over on that wall and ends the battle because that's what you needed to do was pull that lever. I don't know. Jim's an accomplice. He's your accomplice. He goes with you. There we go. So this is the 3 like different like branches of this system that I'm imagining is these animal pets, robots, accomplices, right? And each of these kind of share a similar core system, and you can upgrade your pet, robot, accomplice in the same way. Now, obviously, you can't apply these self-destruct, augment to your accomplice Jim.
Yep.
He's not okay with that.
Or your pet, because I just refuse to allow it.
Yeah, yes.
The spirit of Jake will pop out of the book and slap you.
Yeah, I throw my chinchilla at them to win my diplomacy roll. Oh, it failed still? Self-destruct. That would be a horrifying campaign. Though,
that
fun, but horrifying.
That, yeah. We don't need PETA coming after us.
Don't play Retroscape. The chinchilla self-destruct.
Exploding chinchillas. Granted, Exploding Kittens is a fun board game.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's fair.
But yeah, and then so here's with that. And granted, so with your small pet or small companion, I'm not entirely sure how you're I'm not sure how you're gonna do that with Jim, for example, unless Jim is literally like your hype man who's just always behind you, like a koala just hiding behind its mom, but like pops out like, you got this, and then ducks again. And is he gonna run over and punch Echo in the face and then run back to hide? Is that the goal?
Well, so I don't think we have. Okay, so these rules are different from like the small pet rules, right? Like Jim still has hit points, brawn, a wound threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still like, if you want Jim to do something, you still gotta tell Jim what to do. Otherwise, Jim's gonna stay in the back and not help you out.
Right. Which makes sense.
But yeah, no, I think that Jim and the robot are very similar. Sorry, Jim. I don't think of you as much smarter than a robot, but I think mechanically they're very similar. There are some very distinct differences. So like, I think that we would have to look at the fact that Jim is not something that can be bought and then never paid again.
Yeah, well, also, I feel like, and see, here's where I'm different right now. My brain just went, I feel like we divide them up into three separate things. I think robots is intellect, animals goes to wisdom, Jim goes to social, because for me, robot is controlled by, now granted, it could be mechanically wise, they're built similar.
Right.
But robot right now is controlled by you with a remote control.
Yes.
Jim shouldn't have to tell Jim to shoot that guy. Jim should just understand to shoot that guy when he starts shooting at me. Same thing with Fido, my radioactive beaver. He should just understand, go bite that guy if he starts shooting at me. Like, I can tell him to do that, but I feel I don't know, I guess part of me is like, it shouldn't be the same action economy as me telling, hey, shoot him, Jim, versus me having to actually make my robot shoot him. But I don't know. That's kind of where I'm differing on that.
No, I agree with you. I think that I think that fundamentally we are aligned. I think we're both trying to work it out in our brain exactly what this looks like. Because Jim the accomplice is like very, very different than a robot.
Right.
I mean, fundamentally, like an animal is also quite different than a robot, right? Like, so robots, we have a specialty called robot protocols, which unlock protocols and allows the robot to understand a situation and respond in certain ways.
Yeah.
Animals, I imagine, will get I won't call it protocols, or maybe trainings or something like that, easier and cheaper than a robot would.
Right.
So you could more easily tell your wolf to guard this area or protect you or defend you or hunt that person or track that person. All those things that wolves do, you could do for cheaper or easier than you could do to program it into a robot. Now, Jim, the accomplice, that's a totally different mechanic, because now effectively what you're talking about is like another character, but Jim, the accomplice, at a lower level, basically just refuses. He's like, the operatives, as I imagine them, operatives from like first level are out there fighting fractured beast and AI driven tanks and armies of ghouls. Like, a first level Retroscape character is a little insane. Jim the accomplice, he's got his gun. He is not an operative. He's not interested in going out there and like being in every single one of these battles. So I think that Jim the accomplice would kind of refrain from being in every single fight unless specifically instructed to do certain things or asked to do certain things. And I think that would require your social to be at certain levels in order to convince Jim, the accomplice, to do things on your behalf that put Jim in danger, that are above Jim's pay grade.
Yeah, that's God.
You know,
I think mechanically they're going to be the same mechanically, but still be treated very differently in how they're done. I do want to say real quick before I forget that, one, curly fries, I am having a fidget moment, so yes, it does taste good. Two, Eric, I feel like that's how you get your companion affiliate tech, is by a lab specialty that lets you give your little companion affiliate tech. So your synth guy doesn't have full-blown splices for kids. It's the Ascent for Kids version. Doesn't have the DNA splices, but they could, or infusions, they could have something smaller or Ascent tech maybe. Oh God.
Yeah. So I agree with you entirely. I think the mechanics of these are fundamentally quite different.
I almost feel like companions might also, like, sentient companions might come into play more with the venture system almost.
So, and I think that's something to really kind of hash out. Like, okay, so one, the big question is the venture system in the core book?
Okay, let me rephrase that. I don't think it is. So I'm going to rephrase this, actually. I'm going to take back what I said. I think there is a mechanic that we will try and figure out. If we can, awesome. If not, it'll be a later thing. But if we can figure out how to at least give you a companion, someone that is a sidekick, whether it's your squire. Yeah, it's your sidekick, it's your squire. It's someone in maybe it could be, flavor-wise, it could be your lab has assigned you a trainee, and that's what you have. It could be, if you're going to be a freelancer, maybe if you're an Ascent member, maybe you're an Ascent member and your sidekick is a Delphi PD officer who was assigned to you to watch you. So you could have, like, your companion is going to be, I feel like a companion's going to be a stronger, like the strongest, quote unquote, in the way that it'll be the most like having another character involved, whether you're controlling them or the narrator is. Then the animal will be like the second tier of it does its own thing, but it follows your commands. And then a robot is, you control this fully, you're using your action economy, but the robot in turn is also very powerful. When you get to higher levels, the robot will be the most powerful, quote unquote, in a fight because you're using your action economy. And the animal companion is more like you comboing together, and your sidekick is more like you having almost 2 turns. So that's kind of where that balance might come into play, I think.
So I'm writing up some side notes here real quick because I really like where this is going, and I like something that you said a minute ago. So Ascent. So I want there to be a specialty in Ascent called Sidekick. So normally having an accomplice, a gem, would require you to have 3 social. But I really want Ascent to have a specialty called Sidekick that allows them to have an accomplice without that 3 social.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe like, I don't know exactly how I want that to work, but I like the idea of that.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like our what did we call it? Or I think I typed it in the Discord. I don't know if it's where it is. I had an idea called shell specialties, which is it's more for us for a developer term. But what you talked about, kind of like Core Plus, where they can do prosthetics naturally themselves.
Yeah.
With Ascent, so the companion thing exists, and then in Ascent you have the exclusive specialty that literally states you can take this as Ascent and not have 3 social. Right. But here are the differences.
Yep, that's exactly what I want. Is an Ascent Sidekick.
Yeah.
It's so fun though.
Shell specialties. That was the term I was trying to remember.
Well, and then you could apply.
Yeah. So then you could do
like a DNA upgrade to your Sidekick.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
And at that point, I think Ascent and Tribe could have sidekicks, like trainees. Depot could have an assistant or a lab, like things like that. Like there might, like 1 or 2 labs might have that are great for combinations. Might have that, and Neurogrind could literally have similar to like you have Robot Companion already exists, but Neurogrind might have the specialty. Hey, if you're going to take Robot Companion, here is this. It works just like it. Here's what you get as well because you're taking this. Because it leans into it already.
So, okay. So now let's talk about like the mid-level stuff. Like, so imagine that you have the accomplice specialty. You also have 3 intellect.
Yeah.
You can now take the upgrade specialty called like Lab Assistant, where your accomplice joins your lab and is able to start doing X, Y, and Z, right? Like they get certain upgrades based on your lab.
Mm-hmm.
And like they can help you craft. Like, I don't know, like the idea of like this kind of lab assistant who's like walking around that has like your like lab equipment with them and is able to help you create stuff. I'm just like, I'm thrilled by these ideas.
Depot has a lab tech that just that's how fractured children come into existence. It's Depot's lab tech companion.
What? Where did that come from?
Like like how Sin can get a sidekick. Depot gets like the Depot. If you're a Depot operative, you get a lab technician or whatever. But if you are the level 4 operative who takes the void lab or workshop, your companion can be a fractured void child inside the lab, and that's how void children are made.
Well, that sounds
children of the void.
Wonderful, lovely.
Listen, the whiskey was here, now it's gone, okay?
I mean, when I started this, I had 1 wine, which I refilled with whiskey, and then this was sake, and now it's all gone.
I'm going to drink some nondescript vitamin water.
I'm going to drink this much water.
That's, yeah. Red shirts. That's what they're. We'll call them red shirts.
Oh, dear.
They're the and see, but, okay, back to the venture system for that. The venture system will probably not be in the main book. I think it'll be its own thing. But with those things said, I think your companion could have an important place in the venture system. So you might have advantage with the venture system because you have this companion, because you're able to have this other person helping. So it could actually turn into where if you're playing, I I still love this idea. Like, so the settlement, for example, if you all are playing the settlement and you all decide at like level 7, or I think 7's when you get specialties. At level 7, you get a specialty, and you all decide you're each going to get a companion and train them in your lab. Suddenly, with the venture system, I could give you guys huge bonuses because you have people you can delegate projects to, so they can do multiple things. I'm sorry, I've been on a weird venture system tangent because of choosing the settlement that I've been very much enjoying. And also, I'm very sad, and I really hope that everyone gets feeling better for our operatives that aren't feeling good. That people are under the weather, so we're doing this instead, the dev stream and all that fun jazz. But I'm very excited for what's coming because of what you all have kind of set in motion in fun ways. Minstrel Hype Man, Eric the Chicken. Yes, you can name him Eric the Chicken if you want, Eric.
I'm really excited about these minions and the accomplices. I think that's going to be a really fun system.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for a lot of things.
Yeah, true.
We need to do these dev streams more often because we just developed a lot of stuff by just chatting with each other and the amazing chat.
That's true.
And but you know what? Okay, so back to the Patreon real quick because blah blah talking, and because I said I'd explain some teaser stuff. I don't remember what the teaser was I was going to explain, but not this Wednesday, but if schedules are permitting, and I will find out by this Thursday, the first of the level 12 Bonanza might take place next week. I'm actually planning on doing, hopefully, 2 to 3 games in the week. Either I'm going to see if I can do like a morning, afternoon, midday, and then evening game to kind of give it a good space for everyone. They either might be all on the same day, they might be spread out. I'll kind of get that figured out soon. But I'm going to attempt, no promise of this because everyone's schedules are all crazy, but trying to attempt at least with our Discord server doing like a once a month like community game thing, just to let people play with us and whatnot. But hang on, my Discord is so slow.
So slow. I mean, it's just me like talking about skirts. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
No, it's fine. I'm just double checking. Yeah, but yeah, planning on doing that potentially next Wednesday, which is, let me make sure I got the date right.
The 11th? The 12th.
Is the
8/12?
The 12th, but potentially August 12th. That is not a for sure, but that is the current tentative thing. I'm going to figure that out soon. But I think the last bit of spieling we'll do real quick. But one, thank you guys for doing all the awesome help out with the stream and talking to me and Daniel. I know I appreciate it. I know Daniel does too. I know Kristen and Max miss you all and are excited to come and fight some robots. Any announcements you want to go over besides our Patreon stuff, Daniel?
No, I think that's pretty much it. We're
cool. Then I'll do the quick spiel for Kristen because they're not here. Go check out our shirts on the website, parlorgaming.com. You can find them, I believe, also on retroscaperpg.com, if I'm not wrong. If not, you can find the store through that.
Sure.
If you're not already on the Discord, please join the Discord. Tell your friends to join the Discord if they want to play out. If they're wanting to try out new games, send them over to us and go to our Discord. We have a looking for games. I want to run more games soon. Trying to. Our Patreon, we're going to be kind of updating and changing a bit. One of the things might be us doing something like this more often. This kind of dev stream talk, because it actually worked out well. Whether we're doing in pairs or we're doing single ones, we might do more of these. We're changing how confrontations come in, so you're going to get 2 each month, hopefully. That's our current goal, and we are on the right track. 2 each month. One's going to be Patreon exclusive. One will come out early for Patreon members, but for patrons, and will come out later for everyone else. Book is on its way. Daniel's working his ass off and is having to work some crazy hours. I know that, so give him a virtual round of applause. Kristen, I know you're not going to say it, but I know you are.
We're close.
Shirt link in the
close.
Discord. Yes. Daniel, can we put a shirt link in the Discord?
Oh yeah, for sure.
If there's not one already. But yeah. So, and I know Kristen's working on our social media stuff, and me and Daniel are working on some social media stuff, and we're figuring out things. If you have any ideas for things you want to see us do, outside of our stream stuff, like if you want to see more dev diary stuff, or you want to see us do streams like this, please let us know. Blackstreet Boys tour is kind of weird and crazy right now and making everyone's schedules bonkers, but we still want to interact, and we love interacting with you all, whether it's for the 1 or 2 sentences you tell us, or for the 5 or 6 people in here that have been telling us some amazing ideas all night long. Pets would probably not be a separate add-on. Pets will actually probably be part of it, but we can also get into that more. I think we're getting near the end time, Daniel. Am I right?
Yeah, we are. I do want to answer that. I think that we can get. Okay, so like robots are definitely core, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think that pets are also definitely, at least to some degree, core. And I think, I don't know. There's a part of me that definitely can imagine like minions, accomplices, and sidekicks all being part of this like broader expansion for the venture system. But on the other hand, I also really like it being core. So like, I don't know. Like the truth of the matter is that right now we're in development. And literally everything is core until we start sitting down and going like, okay, we actually have this shit done. Let's put this into a book. And, oh, hey, this book is 800 pages. How should we break it up?
How many pages are we up to right now, Daniel?
I mean...
You said, like, over 4, I thought?
Yeah, I mean... Okay, so I'm in the middle of the combat chapter, and we're at around 350.
Oh, God.
So, like...
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so... It's growing.
Yeah, and you already did crafts, right?
Yeah, crafts is done. So, like...
Okay. You've done the crafts that are live, I should say, not the ones that we are in development and have not released.
Right. So like the only thing that with this release, I think we're going to be at around 350, 370 pages or so, which, you know, is about the same for like a D&D or core book. It's not as big as a Pathfinder core book. The Pathfinder core books are crazy large. So that's what I'm going for, somewhere in between like a D&D and a Pathfinder core book. You know, but it basically means that like we're nearing the point where we're kind of capped, like, and that worries me because there's a lot of like story elements, adventures, you know, kind of world building that I want to do in future releases, or in our core book that we haven't hit yet.
Yeah, we might have to. We're hitting a weird point where we're realizing we might have to rethink how we're getting stuff to people, because we have so much game stuff right now, and we already have more that we want to add and want to build off of. But because of how awesome you all have been, you've given us so much material to playtest that we've been able to make better and already approving on, that we're kind of realizing how big of a scope this is going to be. And yeah, like this, like, have we talked about the difference between this version and the last book?
Oh God, no.
Do we want to tell people real quick, just so that at least we have stated it?
I encourage you. Yeah. What?
So the last book, which I do have here. Hang on. So this was the last book. This was our playtest from, I think, 2018 October, if I'm not mistaken. And the amount of pages it has roughly is 232, maybe 232 pages. This book had levels 1 through 4 for the labs. There's 9 labs. And freelancers, which didn't have that much. And some of these labs didn't have as much as we wanted to give them, because we are on a time constraint. Daniel has... This also had almost 100 monsters, and I think 5 adventures in it. Daniel has just finished the combat section, and has over 100 pages more than what was in here. Yeah, to give it give a content. And I have redone a lot of monsters as well, but for context, almost 100 pages in this book is monsters. It's like 80 pages is monsters. So yeah, that's kind of where we are, where we realize we can't do that big of a book and still make it one worth your time with the amount of time we'll have to put into it, which we now realize. And again, shout out to Daniel for having to pull up all that, like going through and figuring out all that stuff. And thank you, shout out to all of you for dealing with that as we were trying to figure it out. But Daniel's kind of pamphlet idea I loved a lot, that he kind of played around with playtesting. So we're gonna be figuring out what we're doing. I think we're not putting monsters in this version. It's just gonna be the labs level 1 through 12 and freelancers, who all the labs got expanded upon in some way. We're gonna put the crafting in there that's currently active, and I think we actually like dropped out 2 or 3 crafting that were kind of like, we'll just wait to do these just for next book.
Yeah. And
the combat system and the system as a whole, the lore is about the same as it was. There's some little tweaks and pieces, but it's about the same, because we realized that at that point, we're as cheap as we want to get the book into people's hands. We don't want to lose money, so we don't stop making it, because we love making this and we want to make sure we can get more art and also, pay us, because we at least want to make a little bit, so we can actually keep working. Listen, man, if even the littlest bit, it makes it worth it. But that's also why we're doing the Patreon and whatnot. Yeah, it's honestly what Eric just said: the monster manual, player's manual, and narrator manual. That's kind of what it's probably going to be like.
Yeah, I agree.
And at the rate we're going, there might be a venture manual too.
I think so.
Yeah, but that's kind of the differences we're going through. Thank you guys again so much for that. We're gonna make sure we keep you guys up to date. We are figuring out the pacing, I think, better for what's going on with the Backstreet Boys tour. Or at least I've been able to figure mine out more, so I can try and be more interactive with the community and Patreon, things like that. Yeah. I think that's everything. Thank you for listening to me rant.
I appreciate everyone joining us tonight, and we'll be back next week with back to the regularly scheduled Retroscape game.
Yeah, you guys are in a vault of a dangerous engine, and some robots with crossbows are behind you.
That sounds wonderful. I'm gonna have Jim stand behind me so he takes the arrows instead.
That's not Jim, that's Frank, sorry.
I get confused.
Yeah.
Anyways, have a good night, everyone.
Good night.